The new Atari Gamestation Go doesn't ship with Atari Lynx games, but that's never stopped us. I'm going to walk you through how to expand your new GSG to play every Lynx game released, and then some. That's next.
This video brought to you in part by Tommy and the Order of Cosmic Champions. This exciting and heartwarming coming-of-age Gen X novel is available now. Check the link for more info.
Hey there, welcome back to GenXGrownUp. I'm John, I am a GenXGrownUp. Thank you for taking the time to click on this video. When word of a new Atari handheld first broke a couple of years ago, the first thing that popped into my mind was the Atari Lynx. I owned and played my Lynx and Lynx 2 systems for decades, but regrettably sold them and my extensive game collection about 10 years ago, not knowing how much I'd missed the system and its games. Now, for whatever reason, no doubt connected to boardroom debates over licensing with Atari, my arcade was not able to feature Lynx games in its new Gamestation Go. But, like the Gamestation Pro before it, the new GXG includes an SD card slot that allows you to add your own titles to play on the go. Now, rather than one epic video that tries to cover the process to add every possible platform to the GSG, I'm instead going to break them up into a series, starting here with Lynx. Why? Well, firstly, the GSG has so much potential for expansion that a single comprehensive video would inevitably gloss over small important details. But secondly, because the GSG is a brand new evolving product whose features will likely change and evolve as firmware updates come along, tackling expansion in smaller bites will allow for more focused update videos if and when improvements are made for specific platforms. All right, are you ready to get Lynx on your GSG? Let's do it. The process of expanding the Gamestation Go is really as simple as moving some files around and then putting them on your SD card. It's just a question of knowing what files to put in what format and where to put them, and then what the limitations are of the Gamestation Go as it relates to games that you add yourself. Now, if you ever did any expansion for the Gamestation Pro from a couple of years ago, you're going to find this process very familiar. In fact, if you have an SD card already formatted for the Gamestation Pro, you could just throw it in the Gamestation Go and play those same games. But of course, there are new platforms available on the Go that you otherwise would not have had access to, therefore probably won't be on your Gamestation Pro SD card. So what I'm going to do in this series is I'm going to take a brand new SD card. Now I chose to pick up a SanDisk Micro SD XC 128 gig card. I'll put a link to this very card down in the video description if you want to pick one up. And it's only $12 or $13 or so. They're not very expensive. You could get a couple of them if you wanted to and probably save some money if you have a use for more of those cards. There's no setup or configuration needed on the Gamestation Go itself. You just need to take your SD card and provision it properly. So I'm going to take it and throw it right into my PC. And here you can see it recognized by my Windows PC. If you go to Properties, you can see I've named it. You don't have to name it if you want. I just did, GSG. And it's formatted in exFAT. Now, it came that way from SanDisk. I didn't change that, and it's working just fine. The first thing you're going to want to do is create a brand new folder on the root of the SD card and call it Games, capital G-A-M-E-S. And that tended to be important with the GSP, so I'm just sticking with that format for now. Now within that folder, go ahead and create a new subfolder, and we're going to call that Atari Lynx. Now I don't know that the naming of this folder specifically works, but it worked for me, so I'm going to stick with it. Just call that Atari Lynx. It's into this folder we will place our Atari Lynx game images. Now if you don't have those in your library already or don't know where to get them, let me just say that Google is your friend and leave it at that. Don't ask in the comments. We're not going to answer and tell you where to find them or give you download links. You need your own access to these Atari Lynx game files and have a license to use them. Now, there aren't that many Atari Lynx games, but for simplicity and speed of navigating the menu, I have broken them up into 4 subfolders, just sorted alphabetically. I also have a diagnostic cartridge in here that I'm going to add. We'll look at that in a second. Just copy all that material right onto the SD card. Now, a couple things to know. If your Lynx files are zipped up in an archive, they must be extracted, and it must have the extension .lnx. So if the files you source are either zipped up or don't have a .lnx extension, you need to correct that because the Atari Gamestation Go wants and expects uncompressed images with a .lnx file extension. And once you have your Atari Lynx folder populated with all the game images that you would like to be able to play, eject it from your PC and pop it back into the Gamestation Go. As soon as the unit recognizes a properly formatted and configured SD card in the slot, it's going to pop up this menu. Now, if you select local storage, it'll go back to the main menu. Nothing will have changed. But if you go to the secondary option, micro SD card,
that's where we can browse the files we have added to the Gamestation Go. Now here you can see, here is our Atari Lynx folder that we created, and we can browse this menu. Jump in there, and I can see there the 4 folders that I created. There's the 0 through C, D through K, L through P, and Q through Z. So any one of those, let's just go to any random one. Oh, I don't know. Let's pop down to APB and launch it. There you go. We are playing Lynx just like that. Now, there are a few things to know. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump back out, and I have also placed on here this diagnostic cart. And what's really nice on these emulated platforms is to be able to launch a diagnostic cart to find out where all the controls are and understand what limitations might present themselves to you. So I'm going to launch that. There we go. So we can perform some tests. Now, this might have been a cartridge that you inserted into your Lynx to test it if you had a physical piece of hardware, but we're testing the emulation. Now you can do a system test. We can pop into. Yay, it passed. It's a Lynx. Great. We can also there's LCD. There's some nice test patterns if you want to check your console and see how the color looks and the gradients and all that. But we're most interested, there's some sound tests and stuff. We're most interested in the joystick, so the controls. So we're going to pop in there, and we can then test every one of the controls. Now the obvious, up, down, left, right. Also the A and the B. So you might wonder, so A is B here, so they are down and up. So pre-configured on this is the B button is A, and the A button is this Y up here. So they are below and above. Now, personally, I would have liked them to be like this, like maybe BA or AB. Again, we would love to have mappable controls in emulation. Heck, what am I saying? We would like remappable controls console-wide if we could, but especially in emulation where things aren't necessarily where your fingers are expecting them to be. But the Lynx is not so bad. At least it is the bottom button and the top button, whereas I kind of might have wanted X and A. Anyway, I'm nitpicking here. Pause is the start button, so I can press that. Now the Lynx also had an option 1 and an option 2, and those are the left and right, so L1 and R1. So option 1 is L1, and option 2 is R1. And it just turns teal once we have we've successfully pushed all the buttons and we've done everything here. You can test diagonals and do everything else in there. Now that you know where the controls are, let's look at what features of the Lynx are available to us. All right, California Games, turn that down just a little bit. So we've launched California Games, and so the Lynx had combinations of buttons available. For example, if you were to press the start and the option 1, which is this left bumper, it would restart the game. So maybe I'm in a game and I'm playing half pipe. If I push these 2 buttons together, it resets the game. So start, left bumper does that. So start and option 2 flipped the screen because the Lynx was an ambidextrous platform. So if I do that here, it flips this game upside down, and it also flips the controls. So if you happen to be a lefty, you can now play this game. So this is still B, and this is B, and that's A, I think. Right. So, but you can play. I can go into surfing, and I can play the game upside down, and it reverses the controls because it knows that it's upside down. Right. So here we go. There's a little jump. I'm not so good at this, but there's a turn. There we go. Oh, just wiped out. Yeah, so then you want to flip it back again. You just push start and the R1 again. Yep, now unpause it. And then we're playing right side up. So that's supported automatically when you play Lynx, only because the Lynx itself natively supported rotation. So how about some Double Dragon? Yeah, of course. Why not some Double Dragon? Let's talk about what options are available when you drop into settings. Now, the first thing you might notice is that the Smart Glow is just kind of on a default mode that you would be on if you were in the menu of the console. The D-pad is illuminated and A, B, X, Y are illuminated, even though you're only using A and Y right now. And as such, Smart Glow is not fully supported, and so the settings aren't fully supported either. What can you do or not do? I cannot load or save states. That's a bummer. I would love for that to be enhanced, if possible, right? So we know Lynx can handle save states, and probably the embedded infrastructure could, but since Lynx wasn't a priority for my arcade, they likely didn't bother implementing that. So this is something they could do for us if they chose to, out of the goodness of their heart. Now you can, the controls don't tell you anything because it doesn't know what game you're playing. Display is still accessible. You can change the aspect ratio and the brightness just like you always could. And then back to home and quit are the only things here. So there's not much going on in the settings menu other than just adjusting the overall console features. And as normal, just tap B and you're right back into your game. I always loved how zoomed in this version of Double Dragon is. It's like an entirely different version of the game. Well, of course, it's a different version, but I mean, you get to see it much closer than you would have. Get him! Now, being just 2 buttons, whereas Double Dragon was a 3-button, I think, like, the combos you have to, like, push up. Yeah, you push up with a button in order to do those other special moves, because there's no jump button. So I can, there we go. Yeah, I had this one, and it's great. For a handheld version of Double Dragon, heck yeah. Now, there are some other games on the Lynx that are going to give your GSG functions that you wish it had elsewhere, only because, again, you know, kind of like the Flip, it was native to the Lynx. So let's launch Klax, because Klax was natively a vertical-oriented game. And there it is. Now, it's kind of backwards to get to the buttons and everything here, so what we're going to do is we're going to reverse it by hitting these 2 buttons together. There we go. And now I can rotate this, and I can play Klax with the D-pad down here and the buttons up here. So let's give it a shot. Yeah, now I have my thumb on the D-pad down here, my fingers on the buttons up there. Not terribly ergonomic because the GSG just wasn't designed for this, but it does work. Got to get 3 Klaxes right. Oh, I missed that one. I'll do horizontal. That's fine. Or diagonal, rather. There's another green one. That's good for a second one. Come on, let's get some better colors in here. We don't need those. There's a couple of red. There's a third red. That'll do it. There we go. We finished a Klax level because the Lynx was designed to be played this way, so that's how it plays on the GSG. How about a Little Miss Pac-Man to test out the D-pad, play in Lynx, so you can pick the starting level. I'll just do Cherry, that's fine. This was not a terrible version of Miss Pac-Man. A little slow for my taste, but in handheld back in the day, it was a welcome addition to the library. I'm really liking control with this D-pad. You know, I mentioned in the review that I found it was a little questionable in an early build of the Gamestation Go that I had my hands on, and they took my criticism to heart. They went back and they adjusted the sensitivity and how it's mounted in here, and what you end up with is a very reliable D-pad. Now, why it's not analog, of course, it's still digital, but for games like Miss Pac-Man and, frankly, the entire Lynx catalog, which only had a digital D-pad, it's working great, and it's quite reliable and sensitive.
The next time you're in the market for cool, nerdy gifts for yourself or a friend, I hope you'll remember our store at GenXGrownUp.com/merch. You can find products printed with our logos, original designs spanning all sorts of interests and references to pop culture, and even some cool mashups of our brand with some of the others we love. Now, you can get all this printed on hats and shirts and mugs and stickers and phone cases, whatever, and delivered right to you, and every purchase supports the next Gen X Grown Up video, just like this one. Okay, let's get back to it.
Did you ever try Rampart on the Lynx? This is a great strategy game that you get to play over time and build up defenses and protect your kingdom. It's really quite a great game where you can build. It's been a long time since I played it, of course. There you go, I'm building little city walls and stuff. And then these boats come in and shoot at you, as I recall. You mount some turrets, I think, here, and then the boats come after you. It's a little bit tower defense. It's a little bit, yeah, and the cutscenes, which I guess you call them that, little animations, sure. So now, in real time, you get to defend your little kingdom against these incoming ships. It's the kind of game you just don't see everywhere. I mean, are there other versions of Rampart like this? I mean, maybe, but I don't see them that often. Look, now I can rebuild my little walls here. So I use this little Tetris-y thing where they give me pieces to fix the walls. I think you rotate them too. Yeah, there we go. And figure out, you know, how do you want to build that? And maybe you want to encircle other parts of your kingdom, other little towers. Yeah, I'm probably doing this a disservice, under-explaining it, but once you do this, try Rampart. You'll thank me later. So here we've got action platformer Toke. Now, this is where games like this, I would like to be able to reorient my buttons. Because, you know, here's my shoot, and here's my jump. And I kind of have to move my thumb too far. I would like to be able to shoot and jump like this, but instead I have to kind of do this. And that's where remapping would be nice. Now, this is doable. It's not the worst thing ever, but it sure would be nice to be able... Look, I can play. It's not that kind of a problem. Oh, shoot these things up here. Ooh, 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 get that guy. There we go. See, I'm doing fine. It just would be easier if it was right here. You know what I mean? Let me get this. There we go. Let's get that. I got to jump, I think. Ooh, there we go. Yeah. Ooh, got hit. Look, from Todd's Adventures in Slime World to Cyberball to Rygar to... There's so much good stuff on the Lynx, or versions of other games on the Lynx that kind of are notable. And you could stop right there, but there's more to explore. The Atari Lynx was relatively short-lived, and it only has 70 or 80 official released cartridges, but it's not a dead platform. Like so many classic Atari consoles, there's a vibrant, very active homebrew community. So I've added another folder here with a handful of homebrew games that you can go and find online right now to add to your GSG. Let's see. Let's pick... I see. This Grub-O-Grotto was quite interesting. A little puzzle game. Let me show you what I mean. This was just written, like, within the last 5 years, I think. 2024. Last year. So Grub-O-Grotto is a puzzle game where you move this little reticle around and deploy explosions to eventually drop something on the head and squish that little grub. So you just hold down the button. There we go. I'm going to hit this one. It's going to move some stuff around. Steel can't be exploded, but dirt and other things can. And you have to be careful not to get your little cursor squished. So now I want to blow this up, but if I'm here, it'll drop on me and squish me. So I'm going to move my cursor over here. Then I can blow this up and drop it on the grub. Squish! I got him. You get a variety of levels and different puzzles to figure out what's the best way. Like, oh, well, I need to drop this steel part down. I can do that, but oh, I get squished if I do because my cursor's in the wrong spot. It's a very smart little game, and to play them on a real Lynx today, you would first need to download the file, put it on a card, get a special SD card reader for your Lynx and plug it in. But if you have a Gamestation Go, you're already set. Here's one I found interesting, Jungle Jack. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, it might. It's going to look familiar, for sure, when I run it. This is a Lynx port of Pitfall for the Atari 2600. Oh, I fell. So, someone just rewrote the whole darn thing. There you go. All because of Homebrew. Here's one example of a great mobile phone game that's been ported to run on the Lynx 2048. 2048 has kept me entertained on many a long plane ride, so let's give it a shot. So your goal is to pair these things up. There we go, 4 and 4 go together, 8 and 8 go together. You can fuse them. I'm just navigating around. Here's a couple of 4s. Music is very familiar. Not particularly Atari-ish, but it is familiar. A little Mario theme in the background. Let's combine those 2s. Look, and again, just download and throw it on that SD card. Here's a little adventure game called Fortress Fighter. A to start, B for controls. Let's check the controls. Move, jump, and attack. Got it. Hit A. Level 1. These are fully fleshed out games. Little pixel art stuff. Look at that. How cute. So you can't kill him. You got to jump him. All right, I'm learning the rules. Watch out for the traps that I'm dying. This is a well thought out and well programmed adventure game that never got a commercial release. That might have got a physical release. I haven't looked into it, but you know, I just started looking at what is available. Some health. I like that. And this is the kind of thing you can find, and again, add to your GSG on top of everything that is included with the Gamestation Go already. Why not add even more of your own stuff from independent creators? Oh, look at the little cutscene. How cool is that? Let me show off one more just as an example. And I don't know if this is done. It might just be a prototype. It was called the Inside World, but it looked really cool to me. It reminded me of another world that I played on the Amiga. You might know it as Flashback. Look at that. Unmistakably looks like another world. A to start. Let's see. So just letting us know what the limitations are. Yeah, it is a prototype, but I want you to see this thing. After escaping Silicon Jail, you finally found the corrupted data the Bit King begged you to delete. Yeah, look at that. That's... Boy, how I would have loved to have a game like this on my Lynx back then. Shooting his little laser. And there's tons and tons of this sort of homebrew available. So it's more than just, hey, I need to go download all these ROMs and dump on here that were part of the official release. There's so many games that continue to be written, that continue to be released. Yeah, I can see where this game was going. I don't know if they ever finished it, but I'm going to keep looking because this looks remarkable.
My GSG is loaded with Lynx now, and that is just the way I like it. Now, I think it's important to mention that loading your own games on the go is an entirely unadvertised and unsupported feature. And even as I pointed out several ways Lynx emulation could be improved, my arcade doesn't owe Gamestation Go owners any fixes or changes here. So while I'll continue to build an expansion wish list of enhancements, any future improvements to current behavior should be seen as a courtesy to tinkering enthusiasts like us, rather than a debt we are owed. So with Lynx behind us, what's the next platform you'd like to see added to the GSG? Let me know down in the comments, and meanwhile I'll place links to more Gamestation Go videos here and here that you can watch right now. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this video, and I can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.